Closing a huge budget deficit was the state's motivation behind the plan to sell prisons, and prison officials are confident it will work out well.
These private companies that operate these facilities will have to operate their facilities exactly the way a public facility will operate.
Critics of the plan to privatize prisons in Ohio say it's just too risky to turn over violent felons to a for-profit company. And they cite this facility, the Northeast Ohio Correctional Center, as an example.
Owned and operated by Corrections Corporation of America, the facility houses federal inmates and made headlines in 2007 when Billy Jack Fitzmaurice overpowered a prison guard, took his gun, and escaped while being treated at a Youngstown hospital. Fitzmaurice then drove to Columbus and went on to rob a couple of banks, take hostages, and storm a house in Hilliard. This same prison saw 6 inmates escape in 1998. 2 inmates were murdered, and nearly 24 others were stabbed. Doug Solito is the president of the Corrections Officer Local Union at the Maximum Security Ohio State Penitentiary.
And the private prisons history has shown that they do escape, whereas the state escape level, like currently here at Ohio State Penitentiary, is 0.
Raymond Fletcher, a former employee of the private prison and now working for the state, says the most notable difference is in the quality of employee training.
One thing about being a state employee, I felt a lot safer, knowing that there's qualified people on the job to be able to do their job. Whereas at CCA, I didn't know who was coming.
But Carlo Leparo says the state's deal will impose rigorous compliance standards on the new owners.
We're going to take the correction officers that will come into these newly privatized facilities and train them with our correction officers and make sure that they operate under the same standards and procedures as state correction officers.
Leparo says private companies typically offer employees competitive salaries but less generous benefits than the state. He says given the prospect of simply closing facilities to save money, the alternative of selling prisons and saving jobs became the obvious choice.